Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jayam Vishnupad Parahamsa Parivrajacharya Ashtatara Shata Shishimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Shri Radha Krishna Gop Gopinath Shamakund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Shri Mayapur Dham Ki Ganga Mai Ki Yamuna Mai Ki Bhakti Devi Ki Tulasi Devi Ki Transcendental Harinam Sankirtan Yagya Ki Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna! Thank you for coming to this morning's class. So we're reading chapter 8 of Transcendental Diaries, and we're on January the 11th, 1976. And we're in Bombay and Kolkata. Om Gyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshura Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatyadi Shatarine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Prabhupada obviously felt better this morning. The movie producer came down to the beach again and engaged Prabhupada in a lively debate. He wasn't shy to express his thoughts and opinions, but he listened with great respect and attention to Prabhupada's responses. Prabhupada was so enlivened by the man's questions and challenges that the walk took much longer than usual. We recorded 2 full sides of tapes on the reel-to-reel Uher recorder. Prabhupada showed no signs of illness, and at the end of the walk he seemed stronger than ever. A letter arrived today from Bahu Dhaka, Vancouver Temple President, giving a positive report of university preaching and increased Sankirtan activity. Despite some initial reluctance from the school faculty to have them, they have given many classes to the students and were received so favorably that many teachers invited them back. For the last year, Bahu Dhaka has been overseeing the development of a new farm, but he recently returned to the city center in order to encourage book distribution, which has seriously dwindled. He is personally going out on book distribution 2 days a week and expressed the sentiment that all ISKCON leaders should do this, both as an example to others and for their own enlivenment. Prabhupada liked his report. He recalled the struggles of his other Canadian centre in Toronto in getting the church property. Then he pinpointed the reason for the opposition. Our movement is authorized. Our books are based on the statements of the most exalted devotees, and if we follow strictly the guidelines for devotional service as they are given in the Nectar of Devotion and Nectar of Instruction, then no one can touch us. All the groups are declining, including the Christians. We are being harassed by the authorities, and they are all Christians. Because they are losing ground and we are increasing, they are trying to stop us. There is always a battle between the demons and the devotees, but the devotees always win because they are protected by Krishna. And we know that nice verse from the Bhagavad Gita, which is, wherever there is Krishna, the master of all mystics, and wherever there is Arjuna, the supreme archer, there will also certainly be opulence, victory, extraordinary power, and morality. That is my opinion. So wherever Krishna is present in our lives, that aspect will definitely be victorious for us. And in the case of preaching, because it's so pleasing to Krishna, we will always be victorious, although there may be so many oppositions. Like we see, even Srila Prabhupada, he had to face a lot of opposition. Sometimes he'd be giving class and people would challenge him. And actually Srila Prabhupada did say that all preachers have to face opposition. Okay. Prabhupada also accepted some new candidates for initiation, as he has been repeatedly doing in many lectures recently. He stressed the importance of becoming fixed up in the philosophy by regular study. He also mentioned the upcoming Shastra examinations. In response to Bahudaka's question regarding the use of the harmonium, he asserted that the harmonium is only to be used for chanting in bhajan, provided it is played melodiously. He said that it is not to be played for kirtan or arti. During the day he relaxed, taking advantage of the absence of visitors to read, chant and conserve his energy. In the evening he gave the Sunday feast lecture in Hindi. An hour... Can someone get me some water? Sorry. Now we're on January the 12th, 1976. Dr. Patel joined us on the walk this morning. In his usual boisterous manner, he often interrupted Prabhupada before Prabhupada could finish what he was saying. Sometimes he was so eager to speak that he couldn't get his words out at all. His overly familiar manner with Srila Prabhupada sometimes annoys us disciples and leads to a little friction between him and us. But Prabhupada has infinite tolerance, born from his eagerness to help others advance in their spiritual lives. He sees only the good in others. And this morning, his liberal and friendly dealing was clearly manifest. So, Srila Prabhupada, there are 26 qualities, of a devotee, of a Vaishnava. And Srila Prabhupada actually had all of those qualities, and some of them, like mildness, peacefulness, meekness, controlling the senses, they're all linked to tolerance. And Srila Prabhupada really shows how tolerant he was in dealing with different people, and how magnanimous he was as well. Dr. Patel had been energetically defending the position of medical science and its practitioners against Srila Prabhupada's criticisms. He insisted that they do not claim to be able to save life, nor is it that even their goal. His opinion was that they are simply trying to help people live the limited life they have in a better way. He felt that Prabhupada's impression of atheistic scientists was a thing of the past. He compared them favorably to previous impersonalist Vedic philosophers, declaring that nowadays most scientists accept there is a God or some superior force. So Dr. Patel is saying that scientists, although they call themselves impersonalists and they're following impersonalist Vedic philosophy, they do accept that there is God. But that's kind of a contradiction, isn't it? Because impersonal philosophy doesn't accept that there is a personal God. And elsewhere, Srila Prabhupada explains how impersonalist philosophy actually works. Sometimes it can be like a trap. It will say, yes, there is a God, but he has no arms, he has no legs, he has no face, he has no personality. And so there's nothing actually in the end. There is God, but he has no features. So actually in the end, they're minimizing God to being nothing ultimately. So it's just a trap. Srila Prabhupada countered that impersonalism is also atheism. Thank you. That's okay. One of the doctor's companions objected. The man held the typical impersonalist view that jnana, the cultivation of knowledge, is superior to bhakti, the devotion to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. After taking Prabhupada's permission, it was Dr. Patel who explained to the man that the Vaishnava concept that God is ultimately realized as the Supreme Person is correct. He described the progression of realization from Brahman and Paramatma to Bhagavan. Then he declared that as little as 2 years ago he had been inclined to the impersonal school of thought, but by very carefully studying various Vaishnava works, and especially Srila Prabhupada's books, he was now convinced that devotion to the Supreme Lord Krishna is the highest understanding. So if we think about the sun analogy, then we can see what Dr. Patel is explaining. So the sun has all its rays, and that impersonal glare of the Supreme Personality of God, His energy, that's the rays, like the rays of the sun. But we know that the sun rays come from somewhere. So if we zoom in, then we see that there's a sun globe. And then if we zoom in even more, we see there's a personality there. There's the sun god, Surya. So similarly, that energy of the Lord comes from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's actually a person. The devotees all cheered at his pronouncement, and Prabhupada was also very pleased. It is clear that despite Dr. Patel's habit of challenging, albeit good-naturedly, and his tendency to carry his own opinion, he has actually become Srila Prabhupada's follower. Prabhupada recalled that his teacher at school used to say that if a boy is slow to understand, he will also be slow to forget. And a boy who is quick to understand will be quick to forget. He declared that Dr. Patel had been slow in learning, but now he will not forget. So sometimes we may see if someone is attracted to Krishna consciousness, but they don't really have any philosophical understanding. They may have a sensual mood that, yes, this is wonderful, and then they might rush into the process without really diving deeper into Shastra, or really understanding what's going on, and then after some time they might just give up. Whereas someone who is taking some time to understand what's going on, they'll tend to stick around a lot longer. So Prabhupada is just bringing this point up. Someone who is slow to understand, he will be slow to forget, and someone who is quick to understand, he will be quick to forget. They also talked briefly about the present government of India and Prime Minister Mrs. Gandhi's declaration of a state of emergency. People are unhappy with her, but with thousands of her political opponents jailed, everyone is afraid to speak. Dr. Patel criticized her dictatorial attitude, but Srila Prabhupada, who often refers to democracy as demon crazy, said that if sinful people vote in a sinful government, why complain? Apart from that, he explained that having a dictator is not bad if the dictator is actually religious, but there is no need of elections. Then there is no need of elections. Dr. Patel sarcastically noted that Mrs. Gandhi went to the temples, but liberal-minded Prabhupada chose to see the good in her, as he did with Dr. Patel. No, she has got the tendency of spiritual life, and she requires improvement, that's all. She has spoken in Chandigarh that now we require spiritualism. Since we were due to leave for Kolkata on the early afternoon flight, Prabhupada took his massage at 9:30 a.m. and his lunch at 11:45 a.m. Tamal Krishna came in with the mail, holding 2 letters from Rameshvara. One was a BBT report and the other a letter written on behalf of the Los Angeles community. Written on December the 18th, the BBT report included details of the previous day's book distribution from the Atlanta airport, astounding figures establishing a new one-day record. Tripurari Swami and his party sold 2,900 hardbound books, with Charudeshna topping the list with 303 books sold. 15 other men sold over 100 each. Rameshwara also enclosed copies of the new publication, The Krishna Consciousness Movement is Authorized. The pamphlet explains the basic concepts of the movement, quoting favorable statements from many prominent scholars and book reviews garnered by the Library Party. The Los Angeles report, dated December the 25th, gave a detailed description of their Christmas marathon activities and the results, which were truly amazing. Devotees worked day and night with virtually no rest for the entire 6 days, staying out until 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning and going back out again a few hours later at 6 or 7. Over 100 men and women participated in the marathon, which Tulsi Das and Hasya Priya Das expertly organized. They sold 6,523 big books, 419 Krishna trilogies, and 93,031 copies of Back to Godhead magazine. Shri Shri Radharanath ki, Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki, Shri Giriraj Govardhan ki, Srila Prabhupada ki. Collections totaled over $60,000. Gopa Vrinda Pal sold 529 big books, and 4 women, Jadurani, Mula Prakriti, Dikshavati, and Gauri, all sold over 300 each. Mahatmas sold over 2,000 Back to Godheads. Needless to say, Srila Prabhupada deeply appreciates the efforts of his disciples to sell his books. He said there is nothing mundane about the great efforts his disciples are making to spread Krishna consciousness on his behalf. He replied with enthusiasm, "The book distribution in Los Angeles during the 6-day period is transcendental samadhi. They are working in trance, not on the material platform. No common man can work so hard. It is not possible. Working without sleep means no death. Sleeping is dead condition. Your book distribution is really intoxication." There's so many points in this one thing Srila Prabhupada says. So let's just go through that because it's so nice. The book distribution in Los Angeles during the 6-day period is transcendental samadhi. So Srila Prabhupada explains that actually he explains that preaching is samadhi because when you're speaking about Krishna, it means you're thinking about Krishna. Because you can't speak about something you don't think about. So when you're preaching, you're thinking about Krishna. And if you're preaching all the time, it means you're thinking about Krishna all the time. And thinking about Krishna all the time means you're in samadhi, which is absorption in Krishna. And that's very high, actually. So all the preachers in our movement, they're actually, we can say, in samadhi. Like Ranga Devi, she's always going out distributing so many books. She's in samadhi distributing those books. Patita Pavan going on Harinam, in samadhi, preaching the holy names. And then Srila Prabhupada says that working without sleep means no death. Sleeping is a dead condition. And Sri Kirti Prabhu was explaining that when Prabhupada was going to sleep, he would say, "Oh, I'm going to waste time now." It's just a waste of time, sleeping. But we can also understand that because of the level Srila Prabhupada was on, even his sleeping was samadhi. It was also samadhi. And I was hearing a class by Srila Prabhupada on Srimad Bhagavatam, the first canto, he was explaining how devotees don't really get tired the way materialists get tired. Like we can see these devotees, they would hardly sleep, they'd just distribute books and preach, and they wouldn't get tired the same way that a materialist would get tired. Like the materialist going to work, they'll think, oh, I don't want to go to work anymore, I'm so tired of that. And of course we can understand that it's not that our material bodies don't get tired, we can obviously experience tiredness, but it's rather that the taste for the service doesn't diminish, whereas a person working in the material world, they get physically tired, and they also get tired of doing the work because the taste, there's no sweetness there really in the material world. But here in Krishna's service, there's so much sweet taste that we're inspired to do so much more than we would have if we were just doing some mundane work. Because that taste is sweeter and it doesn't diminish. Prabhupada is eager to see our Krishna consciousness movement. Oh wait, sorry, we missed a paragraph. Prabhupada welcomed the printing of the pamphlet, The Krishna Consciousness Movement is Authorized. He said it is very important for establishing the authenticity of his movement, especially among the educated and influential classes of men. So, Srila Prabhupada wanted that this knowledge was preached to people who could understand the philosophy and who were influential in society. In the Bhagavad Gita, in the 3rd chapter, text 21, it says, whatever action a great man performs, common men follow, and whatever standards he sets by exemplary acts, all the world pursues. So if people who are influential in the world understand the philosophy of Krishna consciousness and start to apply that in their lives, then we'll find that other people who look up to them will naturally follow them, and there'll be like a wave of Krishna consciousness, which we have seen has happened already, and there's so much potential for that happening so much more. Prabhupada is eager to see our Krishna consciousness movement accepted by every sector of society, and the best way to start is from the top. He wrote back with some suggestions how to distribute the pamphlet. You can send it to important members of the government, businessmen, entertainers, sportsmen, etc. Another device is that you can address it to any respectable gentleman, post office, city, state. The postman will then deliver it to some respectable gentleman, and everyone who gets it will think, oh, I am a most respectable gentleman because he has given it to me. The best thing is to find out the customer's list to some big magazine like Time or Life and post it to them. We left on time, flying out to Kolkata at 2 p.m. At the outset of the journey, Prabhupada entrusted his soft red attaché case to my care. The case holds his important documents, and either he or his secretary generally carries it. Since the secretary is now changing every month, and I am a regular member of the traveling party, Prabhupada added his guardianship to my duties. I felt privileged to be entrusted with this responsibility, and I sat next to him on the plane with the case carefully tucked under the seat in front of me. After some time, Srila Prabhupada got up to go to the bathroom. I rose to escort him down the aisle and picked up the case, not wanting to leave it unattended. Prabhupada shook his head with slight amused disbelief. Obviously, no thief could make off with the bag while we were flying 30,000 feet in the air. Apart from that, Tamal Krishna Maharaj was in the opposite aisle seat. Prabhupada chuckled, and I blushed and replaced the bag under the seat. So here, Hari Suri, he's feeling a bit foolish because he's made a mistake in front of Srila Prabhupada, or he's behaved foolishly. But actually Prabhupada said it's good, we should always feel like a fool in front of our spiritual masters, because we are actually foolish. And me personally, I make so many mistakes in front of my spiritual master that definitely I can say that experience is there. I don't know about you, if you had that experience, feeling like a fool in front of Guru. That's good. That's a good thing. Okay. In mid-flight, the captain came back to visit Prabhupada and sat next to him while they talked. He was very polite and respectful, expressing his admiration for Prabhupada's preaching work. He invited Prabhupada into the cockpit, offering him a seat behind his own. Somehow Tamal Krishna and Harikesh also managed to squeeze in, and all three of them remained in the cabin as the plane landed at Dum Dum Airport. They came out smiling. Prabhupada enjoyed the experience. He said that in principle, flying a plane is like typing, a mechanical skill. Once you know the procedures and which dials to look at, it becomes easy to master. Sudama, Jayapataka, and Sridhar Swamis and other devotees met us at the airport. Rather than going straight to the temple, Prabhupada first went to inspect a flat he is thinking of purchasing for his former family members. Then he traveled to the temple in our own bus. And now we're going on to Shri Shri Radha Govinda Mandir in Kolkata. Srila Prabhupada will travel there. ISKCON Kolkata is situated in a large old 2-story semi-detached building, built during the time of the British Raj in what was once the European Quarter. Although at one time it was rather impressive architecturally, with an arched entrance and an upper veranda adorned with large capped columns, it has become quite dilapidated over the years. ISKCON occupies only the top floor on one side. The temple overlooks some public gardens and a lake bordering Albert Road. At times the devotees have to bath in the lake because there often is no water. So in the early days of ISKCON, when the devotees were going to places where temples were not properly established and there was hardly any facility, they actually had to undergo a lot of austerities. I remember when I was in Santon, we had no electricity for 4 months during winter and no water for 3 weeks, and that was so difficult. But these devotees, for many, many months, or even many years, had to tolerate so many difficulties, so many austerities, so many challenges, just to help propagate the movement, to help establish the facilities that we actually have today. Like even my Guru Maharaj here in South Africa, when he was traveling and preaching with the 10 campaign, he didn't really have a place of residence at that time. He would just stay with the equipment to make sure nothing got stolen, and he would sleep in the tent, and he would just eat bananas and simple things, So many austerities our spiritual masters and the leaders of ISKCON had to face on our behalf. And look at how fortunate we are now. I mean, here we are at Shri Shri Radha Radhanath. We don't even get load shedding here like other places. We don't get water shedding like other places. Sounds like the spiritual world. No water shedding, no load shedding. What facility! So we have to be grateful for what we have and really use everything we have in Krishna's service. We're very fortunate. But it also just goes to show that the disciples of Srila Prabhupada, they really loved Srila Prabhupada, that they were willing to go through anything for him, for the movement. And they really are very great, magnanimous souls, that they could tolerate so much on behalf of conditioned souls like us, to try and get us to come back to Krishna. Prabhupada climbed the window interior stairway and, removing his shoes, entered the only large room in the place, now converted into a temple room. He offered his obeisances to the presiding deities Shri Shri Radha Govinda and their lordships, Jagannath, Balaram, and Subhadra. Then, without giving an arrival speech, he went out along the wide front veranda to his room at the end. This room is kept exclusively for his use, but the devotees use the small adjoining bathroom when he is away. Overall, the building is not impressive, but Prabhupada wants to keep it because its location is close to the central business district. I looked through the back rooms for somewhere to stay without success. There are only a few cramped rooms allocated for deity paraphernalia, the brahmachari ashram, some storage facilities for books, and an access to the roof. I noticed that the cooking is done on coal-fired buckets on a small porch in the rear, which accounts for the soot and grime covering everything in the area. There is so little extra space that Tamal Krishna Maharaj decided to set up an office right outside Prabhupada's door on the veranda, while I moved into the life membership room at the opposite end. Prabhupada is not at all pleased with the current state of affairs, for the standard of the temple management has deteriorated. Reports have been submitted that many life members are upset with the state of things and in their dealings with the temple president, Bhagavat Das. He only recently replaced the long-standing president, Gargamuni Swami, but is unable to cope very well with the service. Sridhar Swami from Bombay is here now and has been requested to take over the responsibility, but he also is not keen on management. Prabhupada settled in quickly, immediately engaging Jayapataka and Sudama Swamis in conversation about our Mayapur center. It sounds as if everything is developing nicely there. Plans are being drawn up for a temple some 350 feet in height, and Prabhupada instructed Jayapataka to buy more land. The devotees have purchased an ocean-going boat capable of sailing to Orissa and intend to install Gauranitaya deities on board. Jayapataka reported that a small Bengali book entitled Gitar Gana, which Srila Prabhupada wrote before going to the West in 1965, is now in print and selling many copies. Containing all the Gita verses in Bengali prose, it was written in such a way that no one could misinterpret the meaning. Prabhupada was very pleased to hear that all the Mayapur Gurukul children are studying it and learning to chant the verses. Smiling, he recalled how his godbrothers used to call him Kavi, poet, and that even at school he would write English verses. Halfway through the conversation, Srila Prabhupada sent Sudama Swami to the kitchen to cook some samosas. He also told him how to make a quick chutney from chopped tomatoes, green chili, and lemon juice. Sudama did it all very expertly. Sudama Maharaj has only recently returned after falling away from his spiritual practices for some time. When he left the room, Prabhupada, obviously pleased with his eagerness to serve, said that he was a nice boy who had been misled. He was exceedingly happy to see him back and enthusiastically engaging in devotional service. So we can see how Srila Prabhupada rarely rejected anyone, even if they were a sannyasi and they left their ashram. And we can understand that a sannyasi, once they've taken their vows, they're not supposed to leave their ashram. They're not supposed to get married and have children. But some of his disciples did that. They fell away. But when they came back to the movement, Srila Prabhupada didn't reject them. And actually we could even say that Srila Prabhupada is more merciful than Lord Chaitanya, because in Lord Chaitanya's pastimes, Shota Haridas, for example, who looked lustily at a woman, and he was supposed to be a sannyasi, he was rejected from the Lord's association eternally for glancing lustily at a woman. That was how strict Lord Chaitanya was. But Srila Prabhupada, even if a disciple left the movement for some time, not even just glancing lustily at one, but actually leaving, and after coming back from doing that, Srila Prabhupada never rejected them. He's so merciful, Srila Prabhupada. He would never reject them. And I was also thinking of the example of Pigpen in Paris. He was this disheveled looking person living on the side of the road, intoxicated. He couldn't speak, he couldn't read or write. And one day when he had the opportunity, Pigpen touched Srila Prabhupada's feet, and the disciples, they tried to stop him. They thought, no, we can't allow this to happen. We can't even touch Prabhupada's feet. And who is this person, Pigpen, touching Prabhupada's feet? And Prabhupada let him. He said, no, just, that's okay. And then he stroked Pigpen's head and he said, it's all right, my boy, it's all right, it's all right. It was such a magical moment. And after that, Pigpen was taken into the temple, and after some time he was offering some service, and the devotees cleaned him up, and he became enthusiastic to go and preach. And they thought, okay, he can come with us, but I don't think he's going to do very much. But he had his books with him. And then when they stopped to fill up with petrol, then Pigpen was out of the car, and they thought, oh no, he's going to get us arrested. But when he came back, he had no books left. And then they asked, Pigpen, how did you do it? Because Pigpen can hardly speak, And then Pigpen, he said, I just told everyone that Prabhupada saved me. That's all he said. Prabhupada saved me. And then he distributed all of his books. And then gradually he actually was able to speak, and he gave really wonderful classes, and he was a top book distributor. So it just goes to show that even the most unlikely personalities can receive that mercy from Srila Prabhupada. He's so merciful. He'll go to the most unlikely personalities and give so much mercy. All of us are getting so much mercy from Srila Prabhupada. Kshuri Prabhu should be giving class. Are there any questions or comments or corrections? Can someone give Kshuri Prabhu a microphone? Oh, sorry, Kshuri Prabhu, can you please speak into the microphone so they can hear you online? Kshuri Prabhu is going to Mayapur today.
I had trouble sleeping, so it's hard to get myself adjusted, but pray that it will adjust for me properly there or in the plane there. No, it's only for a second.
So you were speaking about how we should give out the mercy that we've received from Srila Prabhupada.
Yes, because that's how, when I heard people chanting, then I chanted with them, and that guided me on the path. And when I read a book, part of a book, Teachings of Lord Chaitanya, I went to my special rock and prayed for some way to develop love of God. So I'm not the kind of person that would take the spiritual life, but when you get the dose of it, just like if I throw water on you, you get wet regardless. So it's more by the mercy. That's why sometimes the Western people take to it better. Someone may be a pious Brahmin or a Vaishya, and they do all the rituals, but they don't develop pure love of God. Other people have problems, but they want out of those problems so much that they surrender to Krishna, and because of that they even make more advancement. Just like if you're jogging, like just thinking I'll take a nice jog, but if a lion is chasing you, you're going to run really fast. So sometimes when we're in distress or have the issues, it helps us to make more advancement. I think that's one of the problems here, is that the people have, they have their family and they have their children, and they come to the temple, but it's not a big urgency like it is for brahmacharis and stuff. So we need more brahmacharis like Pati Jai. So we're done?
Thank you so much. His Grace Kshuri Prabhu ki, His Grace Hari Suri Prabhu ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda ki.